Do you ever wonder how successful entrepreneurs built their businesses from scratch? Are you unsure if starting a business is for you? Well, tune in as we discuss how successful entrepreneurs transformed their ideas into reality. Welcome back to From Zero to Revenue with your host, Chris Yap.
Welcome to my podcast show, From Zero to Revenue. This is the show that features the journey of successful entrepreneurs from around the world. I'm your host, Chris Yap. Man, I'm truly excited to present our guest today. This guy is really one of the biggest reasons why my EO experience this year is just
thanks, man.
high level, man. Just the, putting together the mentor program and EO. And I got paired with Eric. Oh my God.
Yeah, with
Dude,
Gans.
he is just next level.
Yeah,
And he's giving me the blueprint of how he grew.
that's awesome.
So I'm just really following that right now. But man, I am really stoked with how you grew your property management from zero to like over 650 single houses managed today. Guys, please welcome our guest for today, owner and designated broker for Capstone Realty Professionals, Ed Drummond.
What is up? Thanks for having me, Chris. This is super cool, man.
No, absolutely. Really excited to have you here.
Yeah.
First time I met you in EO, and then we had our kind of mini talks with EO.
Yes. Yeah, you guys came over to the space.
Yeah, we went
Yes.
to your office, and first time I heard your story, it's like, man, this is just an amazing guy. Because obviously,
Thanks.
when you meet people, I'm really big on that aura, like that initial chemistry. And I
Okay.
felt like when I met you, I had that really positive chemistry.
Likewise.
That's why I really wanted you in our show. But man, tell us a little bit about Capstone Realty Professionals. What do you guys do? What do you guys specialize in?
Sure. We're a residential real estate brokerage focusing on Phoenix area houses. We help people with buying, selling, and the property management. So our pedigree, our foundation was always in home sales. But as we grew, the property management arm grew as well. And whereas sales used to be more than 50% of my top line consistently, now it's not, right?
Okay.
And property management has since taken over, and that's the growth, and that's kind of the fun, right?
Right.
But we do single family, long term, the unsexy stuff, right? You want to build wealth with real estate, we'll help manage it for you.
Gotcha.
No short term, no mid term, all annual leases or more, and unfurnished. Yeah.
Awesome. So I know you started, your career in real estate
Yes.
as a real estate broker, and then you grew that to the property management. What was your aha moment and why you pivoted or added that? I call it innovation in your operation.
I wish I could say that I had the foresight to add these different layers to the business that would keep it profitable, but I didn't. It was
Okay.
all by accident. It was
Okay.
just hustle and grit, right? Market was tough. All right, we'll do something that will add additional value. How do we continue to stay relevant, right? What's that ability to continue to stay relevant in this market or this market or this market? And when I got into real estate full time, the market was tougher. It was 2007, and the market was starting to hit this downswing.
Yep.
And I didn't know any better, so it just became, well, how are we going to get business today? What am I going to do today to grow my personal brand and business?
Right.
And it wasn't sitting on the sidelines like most others saying, oh, the sky's falling. It was more so just like, oh, shoot, what's that? Oh, I'll take it on. I also was early on, I invested in real estate in 2006 before I really knew what real estate investing was supposed to look like, right? So I bought my first investment property in 2006 and made many mistakes with that particular property. The property management came from assisting people through that type of process as I got to know it. So my number two, her name is Evan. I hired her on in 2008. She started as my assistant. She helped with all the resale stuff and all the behind the scenes. Her job was basically legit. I said, hey, our clients need to want to talk to you more than they want to talk to me, right? And she's that person. Everybody wants to talk to Evan. Evan's amazing, you know?
Yeah.
So she liked the property management side of things. We had a lot of military clients who at the time making sense to short sell their properties wasn't an option because a lot of them had VA loans. So we're like, we'll just manage it for you and let's see what happens when you come back, right? Because a lot of them were either getting deployed or permanent change of station, PCS, to other bases around the country or around the world. So it was like, we'll just manage it for you until the market figures itself out.
Right.
Not knowing that it would. It was just more so, let's just stop the hemorrhaging, stop the bleeding, and give them options.
Well, I love the fact that, so first of all, so that really makes you a true entrepreneur because you were given a challenge and you innovated from it, right? Because as you know, there's only 2% entrepreneurs in the whole world because it's not easy.
Yeah.
For others, they probably would have just gone back to like corporate when they had like, and you're right, 2007, 2008, man, that was tough to get into real estate given that time. But you obviously innovated. One thing I admire about you, brother, is your commitment to the community.
Thanks, man.
In Phoenix, especially. So you invested there. Your clients are there, and then I know you're very active in helping the homeless community through help. What's the driver there as far as like just your loyalty in that community? Is there something that kind of prompted you or inspired you to just focus on that specific community?
That's a good question. You mean Phoenix as a whole?
As a whole, yes.
I think it's where we live, right? It's where I want my kids, where I raised my kids, where we've created opportunities for ourselves and the community's created opportunities for us. It's just giving where we live, right? Giving where we're living, right?
Right.
But I think it's more so, how do we just give back? I do feel of all the things that we've done, of all the things that I feel like, I chalk a success up here or there to, the give back stuff is usually what resonates the most with me.
Right.
It does, because I can see it and how it translates to my kids more.
Yep.
I can see how it translates to the community more. I do tend to lean into that because I feel like I can make more of an impact there.
100%.
Yeah. I think there's a big vacuum of, once you have a company that's like these charitable companies that are give backs, they create these systems that enable a company like yours or mine to plug in.
Yeah.
But I think at that level, it kind of loses the grit. It loses that focus of the real community that needs it the most, right? And that's the stuff I like. I like the building of, and you'll find this through my past and my history, is always the underdog, always the roughest spots, always the tougher areas, always I love being a part of that.
I remember that. I remember you mentioned that when we had that mini links talk.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I guess that kind of leads to my next question is like, I just see you're just full of passion.
Thanks, man.
Right?
Yeah.
With the business, with EO, with how you're doing it. It's like, man, it's just really next level. How do you develop that fire? Whether it's your family, the business, your role with EO, is there a formula there on how you could really spark that passion and make sure it keeps the flame?
I think it's alignment with my why, right?
Okay.
And I think it's, like Simon Sinek's start with why, right?
Yes.
And I think I am always looking at things as to whether or not it fits in this in this idea that I have for myself or who I think I should be, right?
Right.
And if it is in alignment, I can get all in.
Okay.
If it's not in alignment, I struggle, right? And I'll usually say no, right? Or I'll do my best to say no, right? But I think at the end of the day, it's got to fit. If the future Ed Drummond is the mayor of Phoenix, what is the mayor of Phoenix going to be looking at and saying, this is what I should have done. This is what I will be doing. This is who I was. And these are the steps that took to get there. So, looking at things through the lens of, all right, I'm the mayor of Phoenix. What is it taken to get here? How is it now? Will I be the mayor of Phoenix? No, not necessarily. I'm not really a politico or wanting to run for office or anything, but I kind of look at things like that and go, all right, what would the mayor of Phoenix be doing in this situation, and who are they supporting, and how is that going to show up? I know that's kind of a weird way to look at it, but I've always thought of it that way. Deep down, I'm always like, all right, if I'm the one that's going to do it, if I could let anybody else here kind of step in and do this themselves, but maybe they're fearful of it for this reason or fearful of it. I'm fearful of it too, but I know that to me, leaning into hard has never been a hard thing. Like I would rather get my butt kicked in something hard than not trying it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Man, that is amazing. So I guess the obvious question for me is, how would you define your why? Like what is your why? And I know it's aligned and personal, business, but if you can kind of tell us more about that.
Yeah, I mean, my why is my family. My why is my family, right? And I know you and I've had this conversation before, where it's like, if my why shifted deep down, like I'm trying to not only support them and honor them in the things that I do and say, but also just I want them to remember this person as that guy. Like I want my kids to be like, oh, dang, my dad was awesome. My dad helped so many people, right? It's not my dad made so much money, right?
Yeah,
like
100%.
I want my kids to remember my dad. Oh yeah, my dad helped that guy. Or at my wake, at my funeral, what are people going to say about me to my kids, right? And that's what I want them to remember. I want them to remember how that came out. And that to me is so important, right? Because at the end of the day, like that's the legacy I want to leave.
100%.
Yeah.
And man, I am with you there 100%. Exactly the same. It's really, he just said exactly how I would say it, like how I want to be remembered is, I'm the guy who served. I'm the guy who made a difference in these people's lives. And dude, you're definitely doing that, not just in the professional. Obviously, in EO, you're creating so much impact there.
Trying, man. I think all of it is just trying. There were so many things, and I love that you brought up the mentorship thing, because there was so many things that I still wanted to do, right? And it was just like, I went back home and at one point, and I was talking to Rach about it, and I was like, wow, look at all these different pieces that ideally we can make a difference to, we can change, right?
Right.
And at a certain point, it's recognizing that I can't fix, I don't want to say fix. I can't change everything.
Yep.
Right? It's pick the three, Ed. Pick the three things that you're going to anchor onto, and that's it, right? And then I had to, and then I was like, okay, I'm just going to do those three, and then the rest will convey to next year. And this is with anything, right? And I think right now, even with my family, like the things that we need to be paying attention to, it's what are the most meaningful things. What was it, like picking your battles, right? It's like picking
exactly.
your battles.
Choose your battles.
Yeah, but it's right now. It's my family is always at the very top of my battles.
Right.
They're the very top of the decisions that I need to lean into and make. Honestly.
Well, you mentioned legacy, especially for your family, but I think it's just worth mentioning for me that with what you're doing with EO, the mentorship. And obviously, I'm speaking for myself. The way you put that together, it's so organized. It's just high level, man. It's like I mean, EO was already high level,
Yeah.
but just the way it's done, like months ahead for that, the pairing, I got paired, and now I have a mentor who's just, man, just an open book. He's really opening his blueprint, um, telling me mistakes. I mean, we've only had 2 meetings,
Yeah.
but he's already sharing me 2 mistakes, systems, how he's managing people. Before talking to him, I thought I'm just gonna be capped at like maybe 10 million a year, in like a few years. It's
Yeah.
probably gonna be my cap. But after talking to him, he really made me realize that shit, man, I think I can hit like 50 million a year,
Nice.
and that's
dude.
because of him.
Yeah.
But the reality is, and I'm saying this because, dude, you put that together. So
Oh.
I just want to say that right now I have that clarity that I could get there. And before that mentorship, I didn't think I can. But that guy helped me. And really, you put that together. So talk about legacy. When I hit that 30, 40 million, dude, I'm going to owe you something.
No, man.
Because you helped me put that together. I guess what I'm trying to say is because you put that mentorship in the level that you did, it just rippled. And I don't know if you realize that the effect of that to the business owners who's enjoying the mentorship program, like for me, man, it's game changer.
I love
So,
that, man.
Dude, yeah, man. That small thing
Hey, thanks,
that
brother.
it's not small, but just the dedication, the commitment of not compromising because you really want to make a difference. It really is making a difference. So I can personally feel your passion and how you serve in your business, in your family. So I just gotta say, man, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, brother.
I mean, it's incredible. And even if you decide to run for mayor later on, dude, I think it's Phoenix would be lucky.
Thanks, man.
So we have a lot of listeners here who are probably in that crossroad, whether they continue working in corporate America or crossover in that entrepreneurial world. And I know you did cross over from corporate America.
Yes.
What was the um, thought process behind that? Like, were you thinking of, oh, I want to make this difference, so I'm going to shift instead of me being an employee, I'm going to, have my own company? What was this process like?
That's a great question. It was a long, hard battle. It was a struggle of leaving the security of something that was paying me good money at the time
Yes.
to jump into nothing, right?
Yep.
And it really was. I think for real estate, I had gotten my license while I was working full time because my clients were also realtors.
Right.
So I was a vendor to real estate agents, and I think one of the things that sparked it early on, and again, it was my passion for the product. I would go and sell it at trade shows, and people would think that I was the owner, right?
Huh.
They would think I was the owner of the company when we'd have conversations, and I was usually going by myself or with one other person, and it felt great to be perceived as the owner of this company, right?
Right.
Not knowing, and I would tell them, no, I'm not the owner, but they'd go, wow, you have so much passion for this, and I think at that point it was like, okay, real estate was something that I got into not to own a brokerage, but to just own a bunch of real estate. Honestly.
Okay.
It was like, okay, what do I need to do? Like after I bought that first one and I made errors, right? I was like, what could I have done differently? I don't know because I'm not in it full time. What should I be doing? Do I want to make that mistake again? I had so many questions, right? And it was just more so, all right, jumping in and making that plunge and recognizing that at the end of the day, what I thought, and like I had this air of being the owner of the business.
Yeah.
I wasn't, right?
Yeah,
Like
right.
I wasn't the owner of that business. They were great to me. I loved that company. I loved the guys that I worked for. They were amazing. They still are. But at the end of the day, I knew that with the decisions that I needed to make, I had enough confidence in myself to say, all right, I can make these decisions whether I'm here or I can make the decisions on my own.
Right.
Once I had enough saved up, I made the plunge.
So what was it about owning a business? I mean, I kind of know the reason here, but for the sake of our audience, what was really about owning a business, being an entrepreneur, that really excited you, one, and second, that really made you pull the trigger to jump over?
Yeah, I think first and foremost was no longer did I have these guardrails of when should I be spending time on something or when shouldn't I be, because it was all for me. It wasn't, it was all my time now, right?
Yes.
So I'm always the person who's always doing something. So if I'm always doing something and it happens to be for somebody else, for paying and growing their company, why would I be doing that?
You're
right?
Exactly.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, so obviously freedom
Yes.
and control.
I like the freedom.
Yes.
Yeah, I do. I like getting up and knowing that I'm going to carve out my day every day and have that mapped out. I think that's a big one, dude. Yeah, I think for all of us, right?
Yeah, 100%. And see, that's really the exciting thing, and that's really why a lot of people want to do that entrepreneurship. But I think it's important for people to understand that, dude, it's not easy.
No. Yeah. Definitely
That's why
isn't.
the percentage of business failing after 5 years, it just keeps increasing. It used to be 60%, within the first 5 years, like 10 years ago. Now it's like 80%.
Yeah.
80% of business fail in the first 5 years. That's a scary number right there.
Totally.
But so I guess my next question is, can you remember like maybe one or two major challenges in your business that you almost maybe shut down? Just biggest challenge that you encountered in your years owning your business, and obviously what did you do to correct that?
Yeah. Good question. I think the first was I had originally with Capstone, I had a business partner, and it was her company. I came over from the brokerage that we were at and brought over a big book of property management business. Well, small at the time, or small now, right? But
Right.
at the time, it was like, book of property management business, all my short sale business, and she had brokerage and she focused on commercial. Well, after a year, we realized that we weren't going to be great partners moving forward. So I decided to buy her out. But what that took was I had to then become broker within 2 weeks.
Wow.
Right. So there was no room for error. There was no room for not passing any tests. There was no room for anything other than 100% getting this done and making sure it happened, or I'd have to close the doors. That was a big one.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't think that was her intent at all. It wasn't set up that way. It was just, as we decided to move forward, this was the plan. All right, I'll take it. The second was the first time I got sued for something that, I'd say the first time that I got sued for something that was fabricated.
Oh.
For something that was, and I don't want to say fabricated because the person that sued us might have felt that he was slighted, right?
Sure.
But when that happens and you've got a great team and you've got these, these values and ethically it's just something that happens in our business.
Yep.
It was a big one because it changed how we did so much. It pulled, like, we were running feeling like we were taking care of people and doing all these things. Then all of a sudden you get hit with something like that, and you're like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah.
Right?
You question things
Immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, hold on. How is that possible?
Right.
That was a really, really tough one. Changed my team. Changed all of us. And it was hard. And I think it was very hard for me. I struggled with that because it was like even we had to go to and I could talk about it now because it was so long ago, but the first step was going to mediation.
Yeah.
Right? After this guy sent us a nasty gram with, asking for all this money, right? Yeah. I sent one back and said no, right? Basically.
Right.
And then they pulled one with Attorney General and a HUD violation. And once they did that, it triggers things that can't be reversed for both of us. So at that point, it was mediation is the first step. And at mediation, I flipping lost it. I lost it on this dude. And I'm just like, I can't, like, what you're saying is not even, is not even accurate, like in front of everybody. And they were just like, oh, Ed, calm down, dude. Like, calm down. And the lawyer who's with me, he's just like, Ed, stop, dude. I'm just like, look at this guy. You know what I mean? Like, can you, and it was like,
I could just imagine.
Oh, dude, it was not one of my finer moments. But at the same time, I realized at that point, nobody cares whether or not this guy is right or wrong, or I'm right or wrong.
Right.
Like, dude, it was such an interesting situation.
So, see, that's another reason why owning the business, it's just not easy. Because, when you're an employee, something like that, you pass it on to legal team.
Yeah.
You can not outsource, but escalate to someone, maybe to the owner. But in these cases, you're the endpoint. Escalation stops on you. You are the escalation, right? And I could just imagine the stress, because I've been in that situation, and man, I can still kind of feel the tension. It was just an ugly situation. So, man, I'm sorry you went through that.
Oh, no, it's okay. Like, since then, it's like, dude, that it comes with the territory in this business.
Exactly. It's just part of the game.
It is. And that was something that at the time we just didn't even realize.
Right.
Like, I was blind to it entirely. And I was so personally offended by this person accusing us of something that was not true.
Right.
I just didn't know.
Yeah.
Right? I just didn't know how that was a thing.
Right.
So at the time, I took it very, very, very personally, and that was a big eye opener for me as to, like, hey, do I want to even continue down this path? Like, why do I want to do this? If anybody in the world can come and say something like this, right?
Right. But I think obviously that exercise, that experience, it definitely made you stronger.
Oh yeah,
it allowed you to innovate and kind of watch out, because the thing is, we don't know what we don't know
100%
until something happens to us.
Oh, all these blind spots as business owners that we deal with on the regular. That's why I love the hard. I love, and I think one thing that EO brings, or groups like that, it's recognizing our blind spots. And I think at a certain time in my life, at a certain level, a certain age, whatever it was, I stopped getting as much feedback about what my blind spots were compared to when I was younger.
Yeah.
Right?
Sure.
Maybe in the past it was parents. Maybe in the past it was, bosses. Maybe in the past, whatever. But becoming an entrepreneur, recognizing where those blind spots are, it's not like everybody's telling them to me, right?
Yeah.
It's not like I have a tribe of confidants that are constantly giving me direction and telling me, hey, Ed, focus on this. And that's something that was the biggest eye-opener becoming an entrepreneur. Yeah. There's not a lot of people that tell me that I'm wrong. There's not a lot of people that tell me that this is not the right way, right? But that's what I need, right?
Yeah, exactly. And absolutely right about EO. I mean, we have different businesses, but the experience share, what they've gone through, it's really interesting during forum meetings when someone says something, whether it's personal or business, it just hits a nerve, and then it just makes you click something that you're not thinking of, but maybe you were concerned of something similar. It just turns a switch on. And then when you hear what they went through, it's like, okay, I'm gonna make sure I don't do that. It's like it you're right. The just this group is amazing. And you're right. You really can't have a lot of like different groups, different people telling you what to do, because no one's gonna know your business more than anyone other than you. And it's just the reality that comes with owning the business. But at the same time, we can do something as such as surround yourself with people smarter than you.
Yeah, totally.
Which is, again, that's why I love EO.
Yeah.
But before we continue, Ed, I just want to thank our sponsor.
Yeah.
This show today is sponsored by Gabtech Global.
Nice.
So if anyone's looking for a remote professional, whether for IT, accounting, back office, Gabtech Global can help you guys staff faster and with a lot of cost savings on payroll.
Yeah. You've helped a lot of businesses that we know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we're growing significantly. I mean, we're going to end this year almost doubled our revenue last year.
That's amazing.
It's pretty insane, and to think that we haven't really spent a dime on advertising.
That's awesome.
It's like looking at, because we just had our budget planning last week,
Okay.
looking at our revenue growth for this year. 80% of our revenue growth came from like just client referrals.
80%.
80%. That is just wild.
Whoa.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So we have a lot to be thankful for. In fact, yesterday, when I started the week with my team, so in Slack, we have like a Slack just for our management team.
Okay.
I started by saying, today is a great day to live. We just have so much to be thankful for.
Mm.
It's just insane how much we have, like, just the blessings, not just in business, but relationships, family. Like this morning, because I have a journal. Like
Okay.
every day I just write down what am I thankful for.
Okay.
And then like realizing that I'm going to do a show with you. And it just made me realize like, God damn, how lucky I am to be with this kind of people. Like, I'm just so blessed. So I put that in my journal today. I'm just thankful to be part of VO.
Yeah.
And then, thankful for the relationships and thankful for the management team I have. I mean, dude, we're living in America.
Yeah.
It's like that in itself, because I grew up in the Philippines.
Yeah.
I mean, in the Philippines, where I grew up, and I grew up it's a good neighborhood. But dude, there's no hot water.
Was it always a dream for you living in the Philippines to live in the U.S.?
Not initially.
Okay.
But as I was growing up, and I started high school in Australia.
Okay.
My parents had a business there, so we were brought there. That opened definitely my eyes. Like,
What kind of business? What were they doing?
they were doing like Venetian blinds,
Okay.
like window treatments and things like that. When I was living there, it really opened my eyes that, because Philippines third world, right?
Mhm.
There are better places. So that opened my eyes. And when we got back to the Philippines, everything just seemed so shitty.
Mm.
And, but for me, it didn't have a really very good childhood. Like,
Okay.
I don't have a very good relationship with my mom.
Okay.
So growing up, I just want to get out of the house. That was my thing. And then when I got married, man, Hazel really saved me.
Mm.
She really brought out the best in me. She really
Nice.
did. And so as we were navigating through the first few months of our marriage, we were just saying, is this really where we want to raise our kids? When we decided, the answer is no.
Okay.
And so we were looking at different options. And she's a pharmacist. She's a doctor in the Philippines, but she's also a pharmacist.
Okay.
So she was already exploring opportunities on how she can practice as a pharmacist here in the US because she had a friend who just kind of went through that process. But then, like, I think a month after we were exploring that, my boss called me in his office and asked me if I want to start the US office.
Oh, seriously?
Like, holy crap. Like, I said, yes.
Yeah. What were you
like-
doing at the time? What business?
So I was working for a company called DTSI in the Philippines. We were building call centers over there.
Okay.
So Miguel, the owner of DTSI, wanted to establish an office in the US. So before clients actually come to the Philippines, we closed the deal already in the US. So he was, man, that guy is extremely smart. So anyway, so yes, that's how I got to the US. He sent me with my family, man, all expense paid. I had like moving allowance when I got here. When I got here, I already had a car,
Oh, wow.
had an apartment. It was unheard of.
You moved to Phoenix?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Like from Philippines to Phoenix.
Phoenix, okay.
So that's how we got started here. So just going back on that process, that moment, the dream was let's go to the US, get established. She's going to work as a pharmacist, and I'm going to pursue the dream of entrepreneurship.
Nice.
And so after a few years, after I kind of completed my promise to Miguel to get it started, I left and I started doing consultancy in 2008. And then in 2017, I realized consultancy is not enough for me to do what I want to do, which is make a difference in people's lives in the Philippines and helping my fellow entrepreneurs here in the US while building a financial freedom for my family. And now that's all kind of happening all at the same time,
I love that, man.
which is pretty insane just to think of the struggles we had just coming here. Like first few months I wanted to go home because I felt like I just couldn't fit in. Like I can speak the language, but it's just not as natural as like obviously you or someone who's not even born here but grew up here.
Yeah.
And I was knocking on people's door. I was trying to sell phone system.
Okay.
So that I already had that language barrier, cultural barrier, and I'm in sales.
Yeah.
I wanted to go home, but then I thought I'd be stupid to go home. Like I'm one in a million who gets this kind of opportunities. There's no way I'm gonna give this up for my family. So fortunately, I stomached it. We kept going. Now my son's in the Marines, man.
Heck
So
yeah,
he's
dude.
like he's serving. And dude, just the other day, my second one told me that he wants to join the Air Force. My wife almost had a heart attack. But for me, it's like, because I always tell them that this country's done so much for us.
Yeah.
I didn't realize they're taking it like to heart that much. It's like, man, but it's awesome,
Yeah.
right? Because that's character. I'm not telling them they don't really need to do that, but it's in them. Like they really want to serve. But kind of going back to your story on just that desire to serve, it's just so admirable. Like like how you're operating, the legacy you're kind of just giving in business, in your family. It's just remarkable. And I think that's the thing with owning the business, right? Because obviously if you didn't own your business, you wouldn't be an EO.
Totally.
And if you weren't there, I wouldn't have this experience I'm getting right now
Yes.
just with the mentorship. It's just insane when you kind of think of how things kind of align and happen. Yeah, man, I'm just so floored with your story. And again, this is why for those listening, if you're thinking of doing business, just freaking do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the pain of not doing it. There's a great quote, and I don't know who said it recently, but it was like, which pain do you want? And when you were talking about this whole feeling of managing somebody else's business and doing it for them and having to report to somebody and doing all of that, that's a pain that I don't like.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
That's I'd rather the pain of being in court. Right. I'd rather the pain of, I mean, we've got crazy stories in property management, right?
Yeah,
like legit.
I could just imagine.
Yes.
I was a renter myself. So.
Yeah. Some of this stuff is wild.
Yeah.
I would rather that pain than have a pain where I had to report to somebody that maybe I was not in alignment with or something, right? Like I couldn't imagine that. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
So Ed, and we're gonna wrap up here shortly. What are maybe some advices you can give to like someone, one, struggling in their business, going through the challenges that you probably went through? What advice can you give them just to keep going? That's one. And second, what advice would you give someone who's maybe in that crossroad of like thinking of leaving corporate America and just starting their business? I know those are two different things, but what advice would you give them?
For the first person, find their tribe. Find someone. So I remember back early on, you're on an island, man, right? Like there's nobody to help you. There's nobody to help you figure out what's next. If you don't have a tribe of people that you can rely on that can help you navigating through some of those blind spots and helping you with your business, there's no way to do it. Early on in my business, I met with, and my lead into Accelerator, to EO Accelerator, were a few of my competitors. I called them all on Yelp. Basically, anyone that was competing with me on Yelp, I wanted to go to coffee with. Most of them did not return my calls, but the few that did, one in particular got me into Accelerator. So we started this coffee, right? Brunch. That was helpful. For the second person, the second question you asked was...
for those in the crossover, like in a crossroad.
The crossroads. Who can you model your future business after and make it easier for you? How do you make that shift? Like for me, having a model to jump into and understanding that I was gonna need to just do these few things to feel successful in that space. And over time, that level of success continued to grow because I had to keep pushing it further and further and further. Right. But initially, like, I kind of set the bar a little too low, I would say. You know what I mean? Like, where it was just like, oh, okay, well, I'll just get out and do this. Yeah. And I think for somebody who's really making that shift, like, have their numbers in order. Know what your numbers are. Right. My discipline financially is flipping next level. I know this about myself now because most don't. So I can look at things differently, and I'm okay with at this point with needing to potentially pay myself last, even with a family, if I had to, because of certain things that I've established or built for myself. So it's knowing what risks I can take, because I know that my pain point is financial, so I better flip and have that part on lockdown, right? So that my other decisions aren't getting skewed because I'm making poor choices because my big pain point is not being served first, right? If I've so for me, it's like I didn't grow up with a ton of money. Always had to save myself to get what I wanted. My parents were amazing. Both, they were divorced, but at the same time, two totally different households, and it was not one that fed me financially. I did not see what financial success would look like coming out of that household, or both of those households.
Sure. So it's really having that benchmark that you can kind of model the business, your operation, towards to, which is great. Okay, that's absolutely, that makes sense. I wish I kind of did that when I started. It probably would have been easier. But for those who are thinking of starting their own business, man, I think that's an amazing advice right
Well,
there.
I think a lot of times we think that we have to create something.
Yes.
We have to be innovative enough to create this new thing that's going to change the world.
Yeah.
I know enough about myself now that I'm not inventing anything. I'm just going to take what other people have done and make it my own, make it better,
Make
right?
it yourself, make
And
it
at the
better.
end of the day, like as long as I have the discipline to follow the plan, to follow it through, to figure it out, awesome, then I'm good. But I don't have to be the one that comes up with all these amazing new ideas, because that's just that's probably not me.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So last question for you, Ed. I can really sense how anchored you are with your family, right? My question is, what are some values that you're really trying to teach Parker and Bella? Not just on the business standpoint, but just as a human being in general. What are really like the most important values that you're trying to instill in them?
We're a constant family of ownership, right? Owning what we can own. And it comes through in our conversations. It comes through in how we show up for each other. Owning not only our mistakes, but our wins, and doing our best to lean into those. I think Parker just went up to school this year, right? He's up at NAU. Bell, so the household has shifted, which is becoming interesting. So now the balance has shifted in the house, and some of those values are coming through like in different ways. And it's it's funny you ask that question right now, because we're going through it, right? We're figuring out. Parker was a certain individual, and he carried a certain weight in the house, and now that the balance is teetering. So it's like, how do these core values that we've constantly had need to not necessarily shift, but I need to pull away from those, and it's honesty, it's integrity, it's the ownership, it's these pieces where we show up for each other. And I think more than anything is we show up for each other, right? And that was something that we didn't have growing up, neither myself or Rachel. But now it's like we show up. We're going to show up. I will be there, right? She will be there. I'll be there for her. She'll be there for me. I'll be there for the kids. We will show up. And if it's not in a physical way, if that doesn't translate, then it's I'm going to show up for you, supporting you in whatever you're doing, right? So that's something that we're working through right now.
Man, I love those. I'm definitely learning from that. Definitely something I'm gonna kind of borrow from your playbook.
Cool. Thanks, man. What about you? What's yours?
It's the values I instill with my kids. It's the number one. I like this saying of Stephen Covey: "All things are created twice, first in the mind, then in reality." I always tell them that if you want something done, you have to create it in your mind. Imagine how it looks like, what it's like. Like this business I have right now, my goal was just to get to 100 employees. That was the picture I had in my mind. Because I know if that happens, it's just going to grow. But, dude, we're close to 300 people right now.
Oh, my gosh.
And we're growing. We're adding like 20 people every month.
That's nuts.
So it's insane. But the value I really try to instill with them, if you want something, first create it in your mind, be clear about it, and then work on transforming that thing in your head into reality. Because all things are created twice. First in your mind, then in reality. It's just the way it goes.
I love that.
And then I also tell them, especially with the world of it's so materialistic and whatnot, right? I tell my kids, don't ever chase money. So with Gabtech, our operating principle is success follows significance.
Ooh,
Because
that's good.
when you're doing something important, something good
Yeah.
for people, there's no way money will not follow you. Money will just follow. And so those are two key things that I really try to instill among my kids.
Dude, I like those, man. Those are good.
Yeah. So,
Nice.
man, this has been what an amazing episode this has been,
Oh, this
right?
is fun, man.
This is insane. So Ed, what's the best way to get a hold of you for those who wanna, reach out to you, maybe learn more about what you do, or maybe they have investment properties that they're looking for property managers or property management company. What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah. They can go to our website, capstonerealtypros.com, or they can just go to eddrummond.com. That'll take you right to my personal site on our website. My LinkedIn information's on there. LinkedIn's a great way to connect with me. I connect with more people on LinkedIn than any other platform.
Okay.
I'm not usually on the others as much. I don't seems to be more spam and stuff on the others. But LinkedIn, I get a lot of good connections, and I think that's where I've been putting more of myself out to lately.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Cool.
Thanks for having me, dude. This has
No,
been great.
absolutely. Thanks for being with us. I'm truly blessed to have you here, Ed. So, guys, that concludes our show for today. Again, this is Chris Yap, your host for our show, From Zero to Revenue. Again, I just want to repeat what I said earlier on what Stephen Covey said. All things are created twice, first in the mind, then in reality.